start the year where Towns was really locked in on that end of the floor, and that, as much as the unbelievable shooting and efficiency he was giving offensively, was what was really kind of pushing the optimism a little bit higher for the Wolves. It seemed like they were connected defensively, that they were covering for each other, that they were rotating and making plays. I thought they were really good in that respect against San Antonio on Wednesday night. But in general, since Towns has come back, and especially these last two games, he just hasn't seemed to have the same kind of impact and influence on that end of the court. And part of it is that without Wiggins, the Wolves' perimeter defense is getting scorched. I mean, Bradley Beal, D'Angelo Russell, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, like, these are all great players, but they are all going off on the Wolves. And I think Towns is trying to cover for that when they get into the paint, and he feels like he's got to be in two places at once. And when that happens, that's when he gets into trouble, when he's chasing blocks, when he's trying to cover for everyone, and then he gets out of position, and then you get guys slipping in on the backside for dunks and easy putbacks and things like that. So it seems like, they went into the weekend, I think, 13th or 12th in defensive efficiency, very good, and they got their doors blown off. And so it just feels like they need to tighten that up and get back onto the same page. Maybe getting Andrew back will help that continuity and that chemistry, but I still think they need a little more discipline from Towns on that end. And they were getting that early in the season. They have not been getting that lately, and that's a reason that things have slipped here in the last couple of games.
Do they have any perimeter defenders you think are really good, or any who are true liabilities?
Well, so they have really good ones in Okogie, and I think Covington can do that, but they haven't asked him to do that as much because he's playing the four a lot, and so they want his help on the glass. And then I think Culver can be a good defender. He's still trying to get there, but they were also missing Okogie on Saturday, and that was a big reason that they struggled against the Rockets. I don't know if it's scheme wise. They were dropping Towns in the pick and roll a lot early, and then kind of getting beat up on that, and so they changed some things up there, and I think they're kind of trying to adapt on the fly and see what works. But theoretically, when you have Josh Okogie, Robert Covington, Jarrett Culver, Andrew Wiggins, and Jake Layman is a decent enough defender at more of 3-4 than 2-3, but he can kind of get his long arms out there. You should have enough tools to be a decent defensive team. Jeff Teague is not a good defender, but you should be able to cover for him that way. They just haven't been doing that really in the last few games, and they had a stretch against Golden State and Memphis earlier too where they did not defend well either. So that to me is the biggest need for improvement if the Wolves want to make sure that those last two games were just the inevitable blips in an 82-game schedule that every team goes through, and not sort of the canary in the coal mine of, okay, now we're coming back to the pack, and this isn't a team that's going to surprise people. It's a team that just maybe played well for a few games and now is going to regress to the mean.
Last question for John. Again, check out everything at TalkNorth.com or subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Thanks again to Brandon Morton and our sponsors and everyone who's listened to the network. So they are 7-6 right now. They sit at the 8th seed in the playoffs, a game and a half ahead of Oklahoma City and Sacramento. Do you think Ryan Saunders? Let's guess. Do you think Ryan Saunders is happy with where they are right now, or frustrated?
I think he's happy with kind of the way that things started, especially. And so, let's face it, this team came in with very low expectations. A lot of people said maybe 14th in the West, 13th, 14th, 15th, somewhere in there. And so where they're at right now, he is encouraged. And he is a guy who tries to keep the glass half full almost all of the time. Now, I do think that there are concerns that he has, defensively especially, after these last couple of games that he knows have to get shored up. But he also says, hey, we didn't have Andrew Wiggins, we didn't have Josh Okogie. I think that there is belief that when they are healthy and have a full slate, they're going to be competitive and going to be able to win some of these games. But he is really kind of playing with a little bit of house money right now, given that 7-4 start. I think that provided him a little bit of cushion so that when things aren't going particularly well, that they can absorb that and just say, hey, the sky isn't falling. Let's just get back to our principles. We'll keep pressing forward and go that way. But I think overall, he is encouraged by what he's seen, style of play, shots that they're generating, the way the team is acclimated to the different shot charts that they want them to shoot, and he's going to stay that way for a while, barring a 5 or 6 game losing streak. That said, schedule gets tough here coming up. Utah, Phoenix, going out on the West Coast for a trip in December. It's going to get a lot more daunting here, and they're going to have some challenges to face.
We'll be back next week to continue our Andrew Wiggins for MVP campaign. Thanks to John and Brandon, and thanks to everyone who listens to TalkNorth.com, and thank you to our sponsors, TSR Injury Law, 612-TSR-TIME, and Bitesquad.com. We'll be back talking about next week.